Hello, in this video I'm going to show you a new subset node in Wrap3. A subset node allows you to detach a part of a mesh as a separate object. You can further modify the object and then bring all the changes back to the original model. The topology and the vertex order of the original model will remain unchanged. Let me give you an example. If you go to the Gallery tab, you can see our new full body base mesh that was created by Alexei Bogaterov. Let's go ahead and load it. The nice thing about this mesh is that it's perfectly suited for wrapping. Let me go over here and name my node Body Base Mesh. Let's now imagine that we have a 3D scan of a real actor's head, and we want to replace the head on the base mesh with the actor's head, whilst leaving the rest of the model unchanged. To do that, we can use a subset node. Let's go ahead and create one. The subset node takes two inputs. The first is the original mesh, and the second is a set of polygons that we want to detach. In our case, the head polygons. Let me plug the mesh into the first input. Let me also create a Select Polygons node to do my selection. As you can see, the mesh has some predefined polygroups. Each polygroup is highlighted with a unique color. I'm going to select the head polygons. I can also use the corresponding polygroups to quickly add neck polygons to the selection. Let me plug the polygon selection into the subset node. As you can see, the head polygons have been detached from the rest of the model. Now I can do any modification to the head mesh as long as I don't change its topology. For now, let's just save the mesh to a file. I'm going to call the file headbasemesh.obj. Don't forget to click the Compute Current Frame button to save the file to disk. Let's also save our project file and call it subset. Okay, now I'm going to create a new project. Let's go ahead and load our head base mesh. A quick way to do that is by pressing the Ctrl and G keys. I'm going to call this node Head Base Mesh. Okay, let's move it over here. And now I'm going to load a 3D scan of our actor, and in this case I'm using a 3D scan from 3dscanstore.com. Let's change the color of the mesh. And I'll also rename the node to Head Scan. Okay, the first thing we need to do is align our meshes. I'm going to do it by typing in translation values manually. First I'm going to adjust the Y value, then the X value, and finally the Z value. Okay, let me fix the Y value a little bit. Now I'm going to create a wrapping node. Let me turn off the auto compute option. Now let's plug our meshes into the corresponding inputs. To get better wrapping results, I'm going to specify a few point correspondences between the meshes. To do that, I'm going to use the Select Points node. I usually use the same set of points, which are eye corners, lip corners, and 3 points on each ear. In most cases, that's enough for good wrapping of a neutral facial expression. The last step we need to do is to specify which polygons of the base mesh should be excluded from the wrapping process. If we take a look at the inner part of the model, you can see the mouth socket inside. I'm going to mark these polygons as excluded by using a predefined polygroup. OK, with this done, we can plug the point correspondences and the polygon selection into the wrapping node. Let's go ahead and click the Compute button. The wrapping process is going to take some time, so let me speed the video up. Alright, here we are with our base mesh wrapped around the scan. Let's save the result to an OBJ file. I'm going to call it head wrapped. Let's click the Compute Current Frame button to save the file. Now I'm going to load my subset project again. First, let me click the Ctrl and G keys to load my wrapped mesh. I'm going to call it head wrapped. Let's also assign it a different color. What we're going to do now is to bring the changes back to the original mesh. Note that the topology and vertex order of the original mesh in our example are very important and shouldn't be modified. As we no longer need these two nodes, let me delete them. To transfer the wrapped head back to the body base mesh, I'm going to use a node called Apply Subset. The Apply Subset node takes three inputs. The first input is our original mesh, the second input is a subset, in our case this is the wrapped head, and the third input is a polygon selection that we use to create the subset. As you can see, all the changes made to the head have been successfully applied back to the original mesh. However, you might have noticed the seam between the head and the body. We can smooth this out in any sculpting software, but let me show you a much quicker approach. The idea is to replace the part of the neck with the corresponding part of the original base mesh. To do this, I'm going to use a Replace node. I want to copy the shape of the body base mesh and paste it to the current mesh. All I need to do is specify which polygons should be used. I'm going to switch to the Editor tab and roughly select the region that should be replaced. I'm using the Grow selection tool to extend my selection. OK, let's plug the polygon selection into the Replace node. As you can see, the neck region was seamlessly replaced with the original one. Note that we can further adjust the head position. For example, I want to make this head a little bit higher and move it slightly back. Alright, that's it for this tutorial. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next videos.